I'm going to talk you through getting started on the Ruby track on Exercism. I'm going to be doing this presentation on a Mac, and I'm going to be using Vim as my text editor. But you can use whatever operating system or whatever text editor you want. The instructions will be pretty much identical. I'm going to presume that you've already signed up to Exercism, that you've joined the Ruby track, and that you're looking at a page like this. If you've not already, go and do that now. We're going to start with Hello World. That's the first exercise on the Ruby track, and it's pretty much the first exercise on all of the tracks. The instructions that we're about to go through are the same for every exercise on the Ruby track, and will be very similar if you choose to do any of the other language tracks on Exercism as well. So let's start by clicking into the exercise. All of Exercism happens on your own computer. You download the solution to your own personal laptop or computer. You write code in your own text editor to solve it, and then you submit it back to the website. The aim of this is to get you familiar and experienced with writing code like it would be in the real world, not just on some toy website, but actually in a text editor that you're going to learn to love. Because of that, we have to have some sort of interface into the Exercism website. And that's something called the command line interface. And that means if you're on a terminal, you can type something like Exercism, and you'll see a load of information. If you've already installed Exercism, that's great. If not, then you need to follow the instructions on this begin walkthrough. If you start here, you'll see some text and some options at the bottom, and you can click through for instructions on Linux, Mac or Windows. It's really quick and easy, hopefully, to get it installed. Once it's installed, you also need to configure it. The walkthrough will talk you through this, but in case you missed it, you need to come to your account settings. You need to get your token here, and then you need to type exercism configure -t for token, and then your token. And that'll just confirm that everything's set up in a sensible way for you. Presuming all that's working fine, if we go back to the exercise, you'll see instructions here. For now, we can ignore these because I'm going to talk you through them. And we can just start over here on number 1, which is download the exercise. Every single exercise follows this pattern, and the first step is always to download it. And doing that's really easy. You can just click copy, which will take this command, and then you can paste it onto your command line. The command's very simple. It says Exercism download this exercise on this track. And then you'll be told that the exercise has been downloaded to a folder. If we CD to that folder, and then ls it to have a look inside, we can see that there are 4 files in there. There's a solution JSON file, which just contains some information that you don't need to worry about, a getting started guide, a readme, and a hello world test. The getting started guide only appears on the hello world exercise. This just gives you a whole load of information that's basically the same as what I'm going to talk you through now. If you want to read instead of listening to me, that's absolutely fine. You can just look at this file and follow the instructions there. Every exercise that you download will always have these 2 files, a readme and then the exercise name _test.rb. If we have a look at the readme, you'll basically see that it's exactly the same as the information that's on the web page. So if you're a little less familiar and comfortable with reading files like this, you can just come onto the website and you can read them here instead. The file that matters is this test file. This is a Ruby file that contains tests. Everything around Exercism centers around the idea of test-driven development, or TDD as it's often called. That means taking a series of tests and making each one pass to solve a problem. The Hello World tests are really simple. As you can see from the introduction, we're just trying to get the computer to print out something that says Hello World. Our objectives are simple. We write a function that returns that string, we run the test suite and make sure it succeeds, and then we submit the solution to the website. So the first thing to do to get started is just to run that file. I'm presuming you've got Ruby installed, and I'm presuming as well that you've got the gem minitest installed. If you've not, you can just type gem install minitest, if I can type that correctly. And that will just go to Ruby gems and it will install that for you. A minitest is just something that allows you to run tests very simply within Ruby. So if we run this file, Ruby Hello World test, we're going to get some information back. You won't normally get this much information, but because it's hello world, we've gone to a bit more effort to give you a little bit more. Normally you would just see an error like this, which says I cannot load the file, path, hello world, hello world. And there's some useful information here. This is the first step in the test-driven development process. We can't load a file. And we can see that this is requiring, if we have a look inside the file, we can see that right at the top, we're requiring a relative file called hello world. So the first thing we need to do is to make that file. We touch, which just means create the file, hello world that file, and then we run the test again. We can see now we get a different error. And this is what a normal set of tests will look like. You'll see that the tests are running, you'll see that an error occurred, you'll see that this test called say hi failed, there's an uninitialized constant, and that things happened on this line. So at this point we're going to open up our text editor. So I'm using Vim as I said, and I haven't got on the path still. Let's grab the directory that you're in. Go to that directory, have a look in here, and you'll see we now have hello world, and we also have the tests on the right. I'm just going to open the README as well, because that's the normal pattern ID. And we can see this here is the test that is failing. So what's trying to happen here is that this file is trying to load something called hello world, a class or a module, and call this method on it. And it's expecting it to say hello world. And if we go back to the console, we can see that this constant was uninitialized, i.e. it couldn't find something called hello world. So what's the minimum step we can do to move forward? Well, it's to define a constant. So if we define a module, hello world, and then run this again, we can see, great, now we've moved on. So before it was saying uninitialized constant, now it's saying there's an undefined method, hello. So it's finding our module, and now we need a method hello. So if we define that method and then run things again, great, that's moved on further. So the method we just created isn't doing anything, so it's effectively just returning nil, which is what it says here. The actual thing that the method did was nil, and what we expected was hello world. So let's very simply return hello world. And you can do that using return, or because this is Ruby, which means the last thing in any method gets returned, you can just do that. If we run this now, you'll see, great, we're green, we have a dot, which is the not very satisfying way of saying we passed. But you can see that we had one run, we had one assertion, which was over here, assert equal, and we had no failures, no errors, and no skips. So we're done. That's the whole of the first exercise complete. One thing that's useful to see here is this skip. So if we remove the comment out, so we actually put skip at the beginning of the test, you'll notice that we now have one skip when we run the file, and you can see an S over here. Skips are really useful, because if you imagine we start with 3 tests, say hi 2, and say hi 3, and then if we make a mistake over here, if we started without the skips, as soon as we run this, we're going to get loads of errors, which is just really annoying and makes it really hard to know where to start. Instead, if the test is skipped, we just get one error, and so we can just do one thing at a time. Every other exercise that you do on this track will have skip tests exactly like this. The first one will be unskipped, and the next ones will be skipped. The idea is to complete the first one, and then to move on to the second, and then to move on to the third. Anyway, let's get this exercise completed. So we've now done it, it works, we can just check that everything's still good. So if we go back to the website and check, we've done step 2, solve the code using the editor. And then the next thing is Exercism submit. So we want to submit a file, and we just want to submit the file that we've written ourselves, helloworld.rb. So we simply type this, Exercism submit helloworld.rb, hit return, and you'll get a success message like this that says your solution has been submitted successfully. and a URL to look at. That URL is just the same one we're already looking at. So you can now see what we typed is now on the website. You can see the instructions and the test there as well. Now normally at this stage you would be done, you would sit, you'd wait, and at some point a mentor will come and give you some feedback. They'll tell you how you can improve your solution, how you can make it more idiomatic, and they might teach you some new methods that you didn't know about to make things neater and easier, or they might tell you about some style guidelines that you didn't know existed for that language. At some point, after maybe a couple of rounds of refactoring and changing things with them, they will approve the solution, and you'll see a box like this that says complete exercise. And you can just click on that and you'll get a nice message that says well done. You get the option to make your solution public and to publish it, and you also unlock some extra exercises. So we're going to unlock one core exercise, which is the main part of the track that you see at the top, and then we're also unlocking these 3 bonus exercises. So if we choose next exercise, go back to our main track, we can see, great, this is now completed. We've unlocked 3 extra exercises that we can go and do, and we've also unlocked the next main exercise in the path. Now often it takes 24 hours or so for a mentor to give you feedback on an exercise. So because, as you can see, these are all locked, that can get a little frustrating if you have to wait. So we recommend always doing the next core exercise and then going back and doing some of the side bonus exercises to practice what you've learned at each stage. That means you've always got something to do, you can always be coding, and it also means that you can take your time over the main exercises and make sure you get some really good feedback from the mentors on that. So that's the end of this tutorial. If you have any issues, you can go to GitHub and open an issue on the Exercism repo. You see we've got 246 of them already open, but just go to new issue and then tell us if you get stuck, and one of our team will help you out. I hope you have fun in Exercism. I hope it's not too scary and that you learn lots and enjoy the Ruby track. Thanks for watching.